Hello and welcome back to the MacGuffin tapes. I'm here joined by Alla today. Alla, how are you?
I'm good. And Dario is not here today because he got interested in the matchmaking business and now doing field research.
He's,
So
he's
he's not going to be joining us today,
he's so versatile. He's a journalist, he's a
right?
matchmaker, he does it all. I mean,
Meme king. That's what we all strive to be. Be like
yeah.
Dario.
We got together here today to talk about Materialists, the latest movie from Celine Song. If you remember, we did a podcast about romantic movies, and there we talked a bit about one of her movies. I think her first movie, Past Lives.
And I guess today, it's inevitable that we will compare them a little bit.
Yeah. You should probably say also, like always, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it and then come back and listen to the show. Um, Even before we start getting into the plot, I wanted to ask you, what did you think of the movie in general?
Um, in general, I thought it was all right. I must say, Dario said he liked it more than Past Lives, which I find a bit surprising in a way. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just The Materialists is a little less complex than Past Lives, that I can already say now.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I think I'm more, I guess, on your side. I think I like Past Lives a bit more. Um, I don't know, I just still like this movie, but yeah, I had some, I guess, let's say, issues with it, like more on an emotional level.
Hmm.
That, yeah, it didn't resonate as much with me as Past Lives.
Yeah, I think emotionally it definitely isn't the same, but it's also not the point. It's kind of not trying to be, I guess, and it's a little more dry in its subject matter anyway, but I guess we'll talk about it when we get to the details.
That's a good point. I think dry is a word that describes this movie well. I was thinking of mellow as I was
Hmm.
thinking about this movie, but yeah, we'll get into it. Do you have any um pre-production notes or any interesting facts about the movie? Anything that caught your eye?
I mean, the one interesting fact that you already mentioned last time, after we were done with the surfer, is the fact that we follow up our Nicolas Cage episode with our Pedro Pascal episode, which is great. I mean, but yeah, pre-production, I guess you can say it's a romantic, technically speaking, I guess, drama or comedy drama. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I don't see much comedy there, but um, it's directed by Celine Song and it stars Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal, of course. And yeah, so do you want to talk about the box office?
Yeah, I was just looking this up before we started recording. I mean, the budget was 20 million, and so far, as in, what are we here? Recording 10th of August, it did 62 million at the box office globally. And I think it's just coming out here in Switzerland next week, I think around the 20th,
Oh,
but
really?
it depends on where you are in Switzerland, but quite late because I think the release date was 13th of June.
Hmm. Yeah, we're always
Also,
late for everything.
also the distribution company is A24. I mean, that's very well known company
Of
of, that
course.
produces, no, not produces, but distributes sort of more independent movies. Um, yeah, also, I think what's apart from the
I mean,
cast,
they
which is
produce as well. A24.
their producers, yeah, I never remember because think they started out as a distribution company and now they're producing as well, or the other way around. I can't remember how it goes, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, the cast is, I mean, huge stars. I mean, Pedro Pascal probably one of the biggest stars at the moment.
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, Chris Evans and Dakota Johnson as well. So yeah, curious how they got approached about this project, how Celine Song got them this project because
Well,
yeah.
I mean, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, Pedro Pascal, okay, maybe we should get to the point, to the plot first, but in the story, he is supposed to be the unicorn, right? What that means, we will get a little later too. But Pedro Pascal is a unicorn. We all know it. We don't even need an explanation. So I guess it just makes sense to take him for this role. There's nobody else who is suitable for it at the moment. It's just a cultural phenomenon right now.
Mhm. Maybe two more things about the production is that a lot of the scenes got shot in New York.
Yeah, it's New
Um,
York again, like with past lives. That's true.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Do you know did Celine Song live in New York or was she born there? Or I'm
I
guessing
don't
so, but
know. Let's see.
and then
She's
the other thing,
Canadian, so but
okay,
maybe she does have some connection to New York.
yeah, I'm guessing
I
so.
don't I don't really know her biography that well.
And the other thing that caught my eye was that this was shot on film, 35 millimeters.
Mm,
And I really liked it for this movie. I'm guessing Past Lives was also filmed in
hmm
35 mostly, or I guess they had some different cameras because they also show like the evolution of the technology, like through the Zoom calls and Skype and whatnot. So I think there they probably use different cameras, but here for this movie, they shot on film,
I think they did
35
shoot
millimeters.
all of Past Lives on film, which also kind of makes sense for this film because
Hmm.
it deals with this kind of nostalgia and going back in time and that type of stuff. And I think that's very suitable for it. If it's suitable for materialists just because of that, I don't know. But I mean, film is always good, I guess.
But lots of classical movies filmed in New York are shot
Hmm
on film. I mean, this reminded me, I guess, a bit like some of the locations reminded me of Woody Allen movies, and then one film. I think there's even it's exactly the same location in one scene. I think it's Dakota Johnson like crossing the street somehow. I can't remember exactly the scene, but I think it's the same street. There's a movie by Sofia Coppola called On the Rocks, which was released
Mm.
2020. I think it's an Apple movie, and which also takes place in New York. And I have the feeling that they shot on the exact same street.
hmm That could be.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think in past lives, New York is a bit more of its own character in the film,
Oh,
much more than it is here, I have a
oh,
feeling.
interesting. Okay, I have something to say about that, but
Oh, intriguing. Okay.
yeah. Um, yeah, and I was thinking like about the plot like this. For me, it's very similar in some aspects to. Do you remember this movie called Hitch with
hmm
Will Smith,
Yeah.
where Will
I
Smith,
remember of it. I don't
yeah.
remember watching it, but I don't even know if I have seen all of it.
Well, Hitch. The difference, Hitch was a comedy with, and what's the other guy? Oh, it's also a very famous comedian. But anyway, yeah, Hitch plays a matchmaker and also sort of bit cold, if you will, or very objective and
hmm
yeah, and that. And he sets up this guy, and in the process, he falls in love with a girl that he meets on one of these events.
Hmm.
So for me, in some aspects, very, very similar that, yeah, he starts off as a very calculated guy, and then by the end of the movie, he falls in love with this girl and realizes, okay, love is not about statistics or about I don't know, characteristics, and it's
Hmm.
about how you feel.
Hmm.
Putting it very in a very simple manner, very simple way.
Hmm. That actually is a good point that this is not a new subject matter, right? It's not
Yeah,
that we haven't seen it before.
yeah. So in that regard, for me, the movie was not as surprising, and I had seen, I guess, one trailer. So my streak here is super bad because I always say, "Oh, I don't watch trailers," but the last movies we've talked about, I've always seen the trailer somehow. But
Well, I
yeah,
mean, it's not so bad to watch the trailer after you have seen the film. But watching the trailer before you see the movie is just for nothing.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I have, or I saw some scenes. I don't know if I saw the trailer specifically, but well, there were some images floating around about Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal. So I sort of had an idea where this movie would end up going, and that sort of Pedro was not the bad guy, but sort of,
Mhm.
I don't know, the not the antagonist. How would you describe Pedro's character
I
as the
mean, I wouldn't even say, I didn't expect him to be the antagonist, did you?
mm. No, no, not the antagonist, but I mean that he was someone in the way of
He was kind of the third wheel in this,
yeah,
in this triangle of
yeah, yeah,
sadness.
exactly. Yeah. So I
But yeah,
was
I mean, to be honest, I when I was going into the movie, I didn't know what to expect with this because like it is a Celine Song film. And I must say, in past lives, I loved how she went about it because it was like it's just unrealistic for the character to drop her marriage with a person that she met when she was older and more mature and she chose as her husband and she now lives with in favor of some like first love that she had. And here I was also not sure what's gonna happen. So,
yeah, I thought that maybe there was some interesting twist or I don't know, but like you said, it's a very realistic approach, and that's similar to past lives. That it's realistic in the sense that it's a very day-to-day relationship, like
mhm.
the let's say mundane things or the little things that happen like daily with your couple. So in that sense, for me, the movies are similar. Yeah.
Well, but do we want to still recap the plot before we get into the details, or how should we do
Sure.
it?
Do you want to do like a global recap, or should we go scene by scene?
No, I think we can just do just a broad synopsis.
Broad synopsis. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the film follows the main character Lucy, who is a matchmaker. She works for a matchmaking agency in New York. Um, Throughout the story, we find out that she is a failed actress. That's what she calls herself. And while we follow her, I mean, we see her do her job, we see her interact with her clients, both men and women, and she is a little bit like her approach is a little bit maybe cynical in a way, in the sense that she sees dating and romance, and I mean, not maybe romance, but like dating, relationships, and marriage as a business and as a business deal. And that's also what she says to one of the characters in the movie. And yeah, so one of her clients is about to get married, and she is obviously invited to the wedding. And she's kind of this trusted person. We see her do her work, and not only her work as a matchmaker, but also her work as I guess, a confidant of this bride now, because she was the one who brought those two people together. And it, I think that was an interesting scene actually, but maybe we can get into it later. And so while she is at that wedding, she meets the brother of the groom, who happens to be Pedro Pascal, who we find out in the business of matchmaking would be considered a unicorn because he's just the perfect man, which we all know. Like, we don't need an explanation for this. Anyway, so while she is at this wedding reception, or I think that was a wedding reception, she is sitting at the singles table with Pedro Pascal, and this is when she meets John, who is played by Chris Evans, who we later find out is her ex-boyfriend of, I think, 3 or 5 years. So they were together for quite some time before they split up. And it seems that they are still they share a connection, they share a bond. They may not be close in the sense of spending time together, but they do seem close emotionally. And yeah, that's where the story goes off from. So it's Lucy and the two men in her life.
Yeah. I couldn't have done it better, so that's why I let you do it.
Thank you so much.
Um, there's one thing that I wanted to talk about, and it's actually the first scene of the movie where the movie opens with how would you call this?
A scene of cavemen, really, in
Yeah.
essence. um, so it's a scene where I guess a woman is in a cave. I don't really remember what they were doing, maybe cooking something or preparing something, I'm not sure. And then the man comes back from, I guess, hunting, and he brings flowers for her, and then he offers a flower as kind of a ring. Um, yeah, so
Hmm.
that is the opening scene. And
Yep.
then this scene appears later in the movie again, but to prove a different point.
Yep.
So in this particular scene, it looks to be more like the business deal that Lucy views marriage as. That one partner offering one thing and the other partner is offering another, and it's just kind of the exchange between the partners in a marriage.
Yeah, I actually don't remember exactly, but I think they also show like the tools that the hunter
Hmm.
or the guy has.
Yeah, right.
But do you actually remember what this transaction was or the deal? Does it get shown?
Well, I mean, I guess it's just it doesn't really need to be shown because we know what marriage is and what it always was, right? It's about protection for the woman, and it's about, well, care for the man, right? And it's generally speaking, it is a transaction that based on the way that we as humans work and the way that our reproduction system works, it makes sense to be in a relationship, maybe most of the time a committed mono relationship, so that you have one partner, but I mean, doesn't have to be. But in this case, it's just the woman needs protection and the man needs someone to cook and care for him, right? So that's, I guess, the transaction. That's how it started, more or less.
Yeah, I was thinking more of the term how to call this narratively. It's not a fable, not a fairy tale, it's not an allegory, but yeah, sort of
Yeah,
this like I guess a prologue.
I guess
Um,
so.
for me, honestly, it didn't work very well because there were a couple of things. Like the first thing is like I guess it's the makeup
Hmm.
the dresses. Like you could see. I mean this is nitpicking, but like this their skin is very like I don't know, soft skin, and their nails, yeah, they're a bit dirty but nicely cut nails, and I don't know, somehow the makeup didn't make too much sense for me, so I could see this is like fake. It looked like it looked like some mannequins in a museum a bit.
Hmm.
I don't know if
Yeah, yeah.
that was
Yeah,
what they
and
were going
to
for.
be honest, I also don't think the scene does much. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
reach, it doesn't really do what I think we could do without it, is my point, I think.
And like you said, I guess the point is that they show this transaction, like, oh, the
Hmm.
origin
Hmm.
of uh, of marriage or of relationships. But again, I don't. That's if we think of it from the perspective of now. I doubt that that's how it worked back then. I mean, I'm betting the way that people interacted were very different, or the marriage notion is, I think, comes much later in history than like prehistoric times.
Hmm.
I like the location where they shot at, but I don't know, the scene didn't work for me.
Hmm.
I think I would have opened with the Dakota scene. I think it's when she gets ready, she puts on makeup, she gets ready for the day, and then walks out into New York, the city. And well, actually, her outfits are, I would say, her outfits are great. Always great.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're saying it. We definitely said it while we were watching it.
Yeah, so very cool and then elegant, and you have it all. But and I think I don't remember the music playing, but that's more like I was the kind of scene I was looking forward to, like a bit more upbeat, a bit more fast paced.
Mm.
Yeah,
The music was actually by Daniel Pemberton, who I do like as um, a composer, but somehow I don't really remember the music all that much in this film. It wasn't
yeah.
very noticeable.
Maybe that's the point, that it's a bit subtle or a bit mellow. Hmm? Um, I think that's then how the actual plot starts with her. I think going to work, and on her way, she approaches a guy and lets him know that, oh, she works for a matchmaking agency, and that he should give her a call and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Um, and then does this happen at the beginning of the movie when she arrives at the office, that they throw like a party because or they celebrate because she had just got her ninth marriage?
Hmm. Yeah, so it's out of the clients that she matched, it was the ninth wedding, which I guess it's by the way that the situation looked, it looked like it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, at first it was a bit confusing. Was it her birthday or what? But then, yeah,
Hmm.
then it's explained. Yeah, and all the girls are super, I would say, annoying in my perspective, but the way they celebrate. And but yeah, I mean, totally believable in the context of that the matchmaking agency.
Hmm. Well, yeah, but that turns out to be the wedding that she is invited to, the wedding of her client. And I don't remember the name of her, but I mean, it's not really that important, I think. In any case, we just kind of get a glimpse into this world of matchmaking, not only just through that, but also her other interactions. There's another client, which was very interesting, was the actress. And I was looking at her face and I'm like, I know her. Where do I know her from? And then it turned out she is from Succession.
Yes.
And yeah, that was interesting. And I did like that storyline with this client.
Yeah.
Um, so she is trying to find someone, but whenever she gets excited, people don't get excited about her, and the other way around. And again, it's like kind of unrealistic expectations, maybe in a way, and maybe standards that are too high. And it seems like the older people get, the less they are ready to compromise, because there were some interactions that Lucy had with her clients where like the criteria would be so strict that she would already straight up say, "Listen, that's just not gonna happen. You
Hmm.
should kind of how give me some wiggle room." to
But she
find somebody
but she
else.
doesn't reply. She's always like compliant, or she's, oh well, let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah, she is kind of giving them the reassurance that that's what she will do, but then she still kind of goes out of her way to try and find the next best thing. But the one time when she kind of breaks under pressure because of the situation that happens along the movie, she then does say it straight
Yeah,
away, right? That's where we get the scene where
yeah, yeah.
she kind of tells it to her client straight up.
Hmm. But yeah, maybe we forgot to mention the character you were talking about. She's called Sophia, and is one of the clients that we sort of follow throughout the movie.
Hmm.
And in succession, I think she played the
Logan's
assistant,
secretary, yeah,
yeah, Logan's secretary, yeah.
and then subsequent lover, or I
Lover,
don't know.
yes, yeah. She is great in this movie.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think I mean, there is sort of a montage where we get to meet different clients that Dakota is, or Lucy is coaching. And yeah, like Sophie is like on paper, like I think it gets mentioned, she is super nice and sort of successful, but
I think what
something,
she says about her is that she is okay. She
yeah,
is
or
not above average. She's not like extraordinary. She's just fine at all of those criteria. So like she has okay education, okay pay grade, and she
mhm.
is okay, is what
Yeah,
Lucy tells to one of her colleagues.
yeah, and she sort of there. I think she says that there's nothing that stands out, or she's like, in
Hmm.
other words, if she's boring, if you will.
Hmm.
But yeah, this first scene is I've been, if you're on these apps, Hinge and Tinder and whatnot, and this scene reminded me a lot of that it's like very high expectations,
Hmm.
and you're trying to tick boxes, and yeah, that the older you get, the higher expectations you have, and there's,
Hmm.
yeah, sort of a mismatch. So I guess this is the materialistic aspect of dating or matchmaking nowadays.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, and I mean, do we want to continue with the plot, or do we want to get to the point of, well, what you just kind of introduced about
um
the modern idea, the modern dating, and why this movie could be relatable today?
I would go to the next thing, because I think one of the
Hmm.
next things is one that you wanted to talk about, is
Hmm.
the wedding, and then when Lucy is called to talk to the bride. Maybe
Hmm.
we can talk a bit about that first.
Hmm. I think the reason why this scene is interesting to me is so the bride is feeling down. And the reason why she's feeling down is because she got such a good match with this man that she makes her sister jealous, and it makes her feel bad about herself. And so that is, I think, in itself an interesting scene, just to get a glimpse into this person's inner world. And I would say that this is also a glimpse that we get into Lucy at some point when she is talking to John, kind of closer to the end of the story. Or also it kind of appears in a flashback where she asserts that she needs a man who has the means. She is materialistic, I guess you could say. She needs somebody who can provide for her, but it makes her feel really bad about herself. It's like she cannot reconcile that within herself. And I guess that is kind of yet another moment of another person that is like you, as if you don't allow yourself to enjoy this, you don't allow yourself to be in a relationship with the person you chose because of some, I mean, inner struggles.
Hmm.
And the way that Lucy gets her out of this is by kind of asking her leading questions that then lead her to say that the partner that she chose, so that her groom, um, makes her kind of values her
Yeah, makes
and
her feel
makes her
valuable.
feel valuable. And I kind of, throughout watching the film, I really took note of all the instances that they talked about such materialistic language. And then I went and I did some linguistic research and I checked how many times the words invest or investment, worth, as in like worth, worthless, worthy, and all that, value could be valuable or all kinds of all those variations, math, and business. So invest comes up 6 times, worth 7 times, value 4 times, math 7 times, and business 5 times. And I think this is a very interesting touch, but it kind of it how should I put it? It kind of proves my opinion of this film that it is a little bit too engineered to be enjoyed wholeheartedly. It's
Hmm.
as if it's trying too hard to prove a point.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe it's a bit engineered is a good word because I also agree. I got very hung up on that word, valuable,
Hmm.
and sort of you can view it in two ways. Like I think more at the beginning of the movie, value is in like monetary value, yeah, like the security, but
Hmm.
more towards the end of the movie, it's this other meaning, like how someone makes you
Hmm.
feel, right?
Hmm.
Um, I had two more comments or questions on this scene at the wedding when Lucy consoles the bride. So the first question was, what did you think that the bride was going to tell Lucy? Because Lucy tells the bride, "Oh, you can tell me anything. I've heard all the different stories,"
Hmm.
and she's prompting her to reveal like an ugly secret. So what did you think what that she was going to say?
Oh, I didn't think anything. I'm just, I just take it at face value. I never really
Yeah,
like think, oh my God, what's gonna happen? It's just like I watch whatever they tell me, I believe it.
yeah, no, because
I mean, it's not also not that important of a scene in the movie where it changes like the course of the film. So I didn't really have any expectation. But I would say that if maybe I was thinking about something, then it would be the fact that maybe she doesn't have any feelings towards him, which then ultimately turns out to be not true, actually. It seems like they do actually have feelings for each other, um, like genuinely, and they happen to be a good match on paper and in a materialistic sense of the word.
no, because with that introduction that Lucy gives, that oh, I've heard all the different kinds of I've heard it all, so that range
Hmm.
was huge. So I was wondering like on what end of the spectrum she's going to have her story, right?
Hmm.
And then there's also like I think quite a long pause between the question and her answer, so that sort of invites you to speculate.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking like more on the negative side. I don't know that there's this I don't know there was some I don't know some maybe something abusive or something weird, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it was pretty I guess normal. It's not the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean
No, I mean,
yeah
I would say it probably is within the norm. I wouldn't say that
yeah
it was anything crazy, and it's just this kind of inner turmoil that is connected to something else. It just makes her feel bad.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I maybe that's true. You do kind of expect something way worse. And as I said, if if it was something like, oh, I'm actually in this just for the money. I don't feel anything. Am I really even doing the right thing? That would have been worse.
Mm.
That's for sure.
But I guess now talking about it, maybe that's the point. Like there's a huge setup, and in the end, it's something,
Hmm.
well, sort of can
Yeah,
happen to
yeah, yeah.
anyone. Yeah, so where should we move on from here? Sorry, I forgot something,
Go ahead.
a little nice detail. I love the detail that the bride has her makeup smeared on her arm, and then she's
Mm,
leaning on her arm first, and then when she gets up, you see that her left eye, I think, yeah, I
hmm,
think it's her
hmm.
left eye that's sort of smeared. So I really like that detail. Yeah, go ahead.
So I would like to talk about the men a little bit. And even I will tease it a little bit. So when we started, I told Dario, like, listen, I don't even know in which universe you would choose Chris Evans over Pedro Pascal. It's just so obvious. There's just no way. But I must say I was wrong. They changed my mind in this movie because the way that this film was built and the way that the relationship between John and Lucy was shown was just beautiful. I loved it. I
Yeah.
thought it was great because it's not only in like grand gestures, but it's in very subtle ways that they interact and in very subtle ways that they show the love he still has for Lucy. And I made so many notes about this while I was watching. Um, and I think the one of the most kind of the scenes that sticked out to me was when I think she tells him she's okay, and he says, "You don't seem like you're okay." And I thought this is great to show how he knows her. They spent a lot of time together. They had this relationship before, and he knows her, and he knows when she's okay and when she is not. And in the very beginning, when we meet him, just the very first scene, really, that they interact together, they talk about soulmates, and they kind of say it in a way that we are probably soulmates. And it's very interesting to see it because you kind of you at this point don't know yet what was between them, if anything. And yet you kind of already get a glimpse into I guess, the values that they have, in the sense of we are soulmates, but that doesn't mean much, you know?
Hmm.
And although they consider themselves soulmates, they're not together because that's not the important thing. The important thing is math and business and all the material things. So
Hmm.
that was just kind of a cool way to introduce that, I think. That was a beautiful scene.
Yeah, I think the first scene where Chris Evans' character is introduced is when the Lucy is at the singles tables with
Hmm.
Harry, and
Hmm.
then they start talking, and then Harry asks Lucy, "What do you have for a drink?" And then she
Hmm.
replies, "Yeah, Coke with beer." And
Hmm.
then we see from between them a hand reaching in and putting a Coke and a beer on the table, and first we're like, "Oh wow, is he like?" Did he do a lot of research that he knew beforehand what she was going to say, that he has maybe a read on her, or that he also pays attention to details and can sort of figure her out what kind of person she is. But then the camera pans to the side and we see it's Chris
Hmm.
Evans, and then he says, I think, "Oh, is this still your preferred drink?" So that's
I
just by
think you
that.
only think that if you're not paying too much attention because you see Chris Evans before that. You
Ah,
haven't
okay, yeah.
noticed that
In the background, maybe, or
because you see him in the background while
okay,
Lucy and Harry are talking, and he passes and you see that he sees her. I mean,
yeah,
it's not a very like noticeable moment, I
yeah.
think, especially if you're just paying attention to the people in the foreground. but you know that this probably is what's happening
Okay,
if
yeah.
you saw him before that.
But yeah, then that's when we get to know, okay, they have some history together and they actually hug, and you see their hug is it's a long hug,
Hmm.
and you can tell, oh, okay, they have been friends or they had a
Hmm.
relationship for a while, huh? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And
and
you can also see that she really does not consider oh sorry, Harry, right? Um she doesn't see him as a potential partner in any way because she doesn't flinch when John appears, you know, she doesn't make it look like, oh, you are interrupting something. She hugs him. The hug is very long, as you said. And so it just lets you know that she really does only see Harry as a potential client more so as a potential partner.
well, at this moment of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah, and what else? Sort of after that scene, we get a flashback to them. Lucy and John sitting in the car, and like it's a small interaction. I don't remember what they're talking about. I think they're talking about their upbringing and like how both of them were raised poor and
Hmm.
they didn't have any money. And I think
Hmm.
is that the breakup scene we get to see first,
We
actually?
do, yeah, we do get to see. I mean, I'm assuming what is a breakup scene or what leads to a breakup ultimately is when they were on going on their anniversary dinner and they were basically fighting over paying for parking, which would be a lot of money, $25 for an hour of parking, I guess. That I don't remember exactly, but um I think that was kind of the starting point of the argument. And Lucy was saying how she doesn't want to discuss this. She doesn't want to argue with him over money on their anniversary day. And you kind of, throughout the film, you get an idea of why that could be and where this materialist attitude could have come from. And I guess it just has roots in her childhood and in her family life where her parents would argue over money, and that would also ultimately lead to divorce. And I guess it kind of all makes sense. And I must say, it did make me look at this in a different way. Not that I can't imagine where this comes from. I guess it's kind of clear that if a person values material goods, then maybe, I mean, that did come from somewhere, right? And me being growing up in the 90s Russia, I guess it also makes sense. I know a lot of people like that who didn't have much, whose parents didn't have much. I mean, including my family, um, where you would grow up and you would put a lot of emphasis into making a lot of money for yourself, so you would never have to struggle like maybe your parents had to struggle. And I think that was a very good point that this movie makes, that it shows you the development of a person. And it we kind of look down on this attitude that people want money, on the materialistic attitude. But I don't know, I think the way that they showed it here makes sense. First of all, I can relate to it, not personally maybe, but I can see what it's based on. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Yeah, and the scene where they are trying to find a parking. Yeah, John is being very stubborn because he doesn't want to pay like whatever money, and Dakota says, yeah, Lucy says, "Oh, I don't want to argue," and for her, it's not important at that moment. She just wants to get there to this restaurant. But yeah, like you also said, this is one of the many scenes where you see those very um, I would say day to day interactions, very small and very practical interactions, and this is what Celine Song does great. Like not the big romantic things, but the like short on
Mm-hmm.
daily interactions that you have with your partner.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, so I would say that in any case, although the film is kind of dry and it does seem a bit engineered to me personally, especially in some scenes, it still has this like emotional thread between John and Lucy, which I really enjoyed watching. I can't say that it stayed with me the whole way because by the end of the movie, it just takes such a turn that I'm like, I mean, doesn't it kind of break the mold of what you were trying to say before? I mean, weren't we in the realistic world? I don't know. It's hard to say for me personally, but mm,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Maybe there is a break there, so that and the break is it goes to the other end of the
Yeah,
spectrum.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, mhm.
Plus, it just what I couldn't get out of my mind was Cha-Cha Real Smooth because Dakota Johnson's character takes the opposite decision from what she takes in the Materialists.
Yeah.
And in both, like in Cha-Cha Real Smooth, you're like, yeah, that makes total sense.
Mhm.
So watching the Materialists, where the decision is completely different, I could not say the same thing anymore.
Yeah. I have some comments on the cast. Like, I think I can see why Dakota was cast here. Like, for example, in Cha-Cha Real Smooth, she plays like, I don't know, is that a similar role? But no, I don't know. But
I don't think it's that similar, no.
uh,
But
um, but
in
yeah, I
in the
would,
sense of like wanting to be protected and wanting to be cared for over being loved,
yeah,
um, it's like as if she was loved in the other relationship as well in Cha-Cha Real Smooth. It's not that she didn't have feelings for the other guy, but the decision is I will take that because that's what's better for me and my child over on a whim getting into a relationship with a 20-year-old who might still change his mind along the way. It's just a more mature decision.
yeah,
Not taking love and attraction over a more stable and mature relationship. And here it's just, I mean, it does make sense in a way. And I guess it's not like there's a right and wrong when it comes to relationships. It's like also a spectrum and it depends on so many different things. And, it doesn't have to be right. It can be right in one moment and wrong in the other moment. I guess it doesn't really, you can't really judge it on that basis, but still the ending is a little bit flat for me somehow.
yeah. I mean, going back to Dakota Johnson,
Yeah.
I think I was also thinking of her in Peanut Butter Falcon, which is also a movie that I really liked, and her in it. And I can see why you would cast her here. Another example is when they first get to Harry's apartment, and it's this very like
Mhm.
it's a $12 million apartment and super expensive, and here you can draw some parallels between this movie and 50 Shades of Grey, I guess. I haven't seen
Mm,
50 Shades of Grey, but I think there are some parallels there. So I
mm,
can see why you would cast her in this movie.
that's true.
Um, and I do think that Dakota and Chris Evans have a nice relationship in the sense that it's a very, like they're friends and you can see that. But
Hmm.
past that, I don't know if I really buy into their relationship. Yeah, I also don't know, yeah, Pedro, what's so special about Pedro in this movie. I mean, the problem that I have with this movie is that it's a bit, yeah, mellow, or it's too realistic in a sense that there is no real outbursts of emotion, or it's very, I don't know, maybe a bit boring in a sense. Huh?
I mean, there is by the end when she is with John, she leaves. Okay, so here come the major spoilers. Basically when she breaks up with Harry, right? Because they do start a relationship at some point, and then they break up, and she realizes that she has no feelings for him, and that's when she says love has to be on the table, which we hear for the first time, because for until then it was like all investment, worth, value, math,
Hmm.
and business.
Yeah.
So suddenly love is supposed to be on the table after all. And it's kind of like we get this situation where Pedro outweighs on the materialist categories, and John, or Pedro, Harry, sorry, and then John outweighs on the love category, you know? So it's kind of like you can't really have both. So how realistic are you about what you're expecting from life? But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I think the scenes that they have by the end with John, I really enjoyed them, and I really do enjoy their interactions. And again, it's the scene where he asks her, "What is this about? What are we doing? I know that I can't give you what you need and what you want, and you will now play with me some kind of game and then leave me again. So why are we doing this?" And again, he is that is a boundary that he has, where he does say, "Am I that worthless to you that you are just gonna do this to me? Am I not a person with feelings?" And that kind of is a very visceral interaction between them, I think. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it, where she also then says, "You don't love me, you don't want me," but she knows exactly that that's not true, but she's doing it because that makes her feel
Hmm.
better in her trauma and in her feelings of being a bad person for wanting more material stability with her partner, because
Hmm.
that's what kind of pushing him away for that reason makes her feel like shit, right? So
Hmm.
I thought that was a great scene.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed that as well. It's just I can't really put my finger on it. I don't know if it's how they perform the scene. Maybe that was also something that Celine was looking for, but it's I don't know. I couldn't really connect to them,
Hmm.
or I can't really say what. I think one thing that sort of maybe yeah, let's say bothered me during the movie is the voice that Dakota Johnson has, which is very like the I guess breathy maybe and very da, da, da,
Hmm.
da, da, da. And I think at the beginning of the movie that makes sense because it conveys more of
Hmm.
her materialistic and detached side. And I think then there is a nice scene in the middle where she sort of switches. We didn't mention what makes her sort of change her opinion is that
Hmm.
Sophie, her client, gets assaulted on a day that
Hmm.
Lucy had set her up on, and that is sort of what triggers this. I don't know, yeah, this change in her views,
Hmm.
and this we talked a bit about the scene in the beginning a bit. This is again when we get this montage with her client, but this time we mostly see Dakota's face, and now she's reacting and telling her clients what she really thinks. Actually, I think she has a line in there that reminded me of you because she said, "Oh, I hate this and that," and the way she said it is exactly like you would say it.
Because I always talk about the things I hate, of course.
But in that scene, she sort of has a different energy and her voice is different. But then as we move on again, she falls back to her, I guess, normal voice. So I think that's one thing that sort of, yeah, didn't quite work for me. But yeah, the scene that we were talking about before at the end was between John and Lucy, that's very real that could happen. And I liked it, but there's something in there. Yes. I guess I can see them more as friends. And I had seen a couple of interviews with Pedro and Chris Evans and Dakota Johnson. They're really funny together and they seem to have a great friendship. But and you can see that in the movie, but not so much for me
Hmm.
the love, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So it works in the
Okay.
sense that it's a companionship between Lucy and John, but I don't, yeah,
I don't know. I don't see it that way, to be honest. Like, at
yeah, hmm
least definitely not from him. I thought
hmm
Chris Evans, I must say, was amazing in this film. The
yeah,
way, like, I don't see him as such a character in real life at all. I don't imagine him being like this, but the way he kind of, okay, he still looks like Chris Evans,
hmm
but still, like, the character and the vibe of the person he portrays, he transformed for me. I thought that was amazing.
yeah,
I don't know, like at least it's just my view of it. Maybe you still see Chris Evans. I mean, and he is a good-looking guy, and you would be asking yourself, like, if you are an actor, come on, as if you wouldn't get a job by now looking like that.
mm,
So maybe that is kind of unrealistic, but if I kind of don't consider this, I would say that he was great, and the way he portrays his affection towards Lucy, I totally believed it. I don't
yep,
know from her side so much because she is a little bit more understated. But to be honest, to me, she is kind of the same, whatever she does. I
yeah,
don't know. Like, I'm not gonna comment on it any further, but I just feel like all her characters are kind of similar.
maybe
Like
yes.
we mentioned, Chatter Real Smooth, Peanut Butter Falcon. I mean, I haven't seen 50 Shades of Grey, so just talking about these two plus the Materialists, I would say the characters are kind of the same.
I thought that in Cha-Cha Real Smooth, her vibe was a bit different, if I remember
Mm,
correctly. But yeah, I mean, I like Chris Evans, and he portrays that attention and that
mm-hmm,
care he has for Lucy really well. But it's
mm-hmm.
sort of between them. I don't know. There's maybe some spark missing, or I don't know. But like I said, their relationship is more of a companionship, and it's more like
Yeah,
a
but
daily.
isn't it kind of trying to stifle the spark when you don't know, when you know you can't have the person, you are trying to kind of keep it together, you know? You are not gonna show it maybe as much or
Yeah.
not go for it. And I feel like that's what I feel in the um in John's interactions with her.
Mhm.
That it is there, it's just he can't let it out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That I agree. I agree fully. Maybe it's just this first viewing when I was watching the movie, or maybe
Hmm.
it hits too close to home, and I see myself too much in maybe John's character in some way. So that's maybe why I don't know, can't relate, or there's something there stopping me from
Mm.
um yeah, I don't know, enjoying it as much.
But can we quickly go back to Sophie and
Hmm
the situation there? Because I thought also the interaction between Sophie and Lucy when Lucy follows her, because after the situation with on her date, after she gets assaulted, on the date that Lucy set up for her, she sues the matchmaking company and she is not to have any contact with Lucy. And Lucy feels really responsible and really bad about what happened. And although she's been in this business for a while, it seems like that's the first situation that has happened to her. Kind of this situation happened for the first time, and as if she only now realizes, oh, that can actually happen. And when she talks to her boss, to her manager is more cynical about this, and she tells her, oh, well, you are in this business long enough, it's going to happen to you. And you shouldn't feel so bad, and that's not your responsibility, which Lucy doesn't take very, very well. And she is then following Sophie. She goes somewhere where she knows she might find her, and she talks to her. Sophie is not having it. She doesn't really want to talk to her. And then she kind of goes on this tirade about being a merchandise, basically. And I thought that was a great scene. And again, adds to the narrative of materialism, and again, the terminology that is used in this interaction is very materialistic, where she again says that you knew his height, you knew his salary, but you didn't know him as a man and as a person. To which Lucy replies, he checked a lot of the boxes for you.
Yeah.
And
I think that
and then
answer is sort of she's still in shock, and that's her standard way
yeah,
of answering,
yeah,
and she doesn't know what to reply to that. Or yeah.
exactly. And Sophie is appalled by this answer, and she again also says, am I worthless to you? I am a
Hmm.
merchandise. And she says, I thought you were working for me while the whole time I was working for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
that dialogue and that whole, like, from a
yeah,
script perspective is great, and
yeah,
you get her critique that she was Lucy wasn't doing her research, in the sense that she wasn't really researching the person, like the
hmm,
background. And again, with the value thing, like by the end of the movie, Lucy has a switch in her relationship with Sophie, that she
hmm.
actually cares for
I mean,
Sophie.
I think she always cared
Yes.
because she actually also said she's my favorite client.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
she cares actually, but somehow she gets stuck in those ways of thinking about it from a different perspective
Yep.
that you shouldn't be thinking as a matchmaker. There should always also be this kind of spark, as you said, and not only the boxes,
Yeah.
that you have to tick. Um, yeah.
Yeah, totally. She, like at the beginning, like we said, she approaches it from a math level, from a business point of view. Like she's numbers and statistics, and but what she's missing is the human component. Like by the, I mean, she always cared for her. She had that empathy, and that's also why
Hmm.
she seeks her out after that incident happened. But at the end, she gives her the care and the human
Hmm.
support that Sophie needs.
Hmm.
Um,
But also, if you there is this scene where she looks at her own notes about Mark, I think. For me, it's John Magaro. When you heard his voice on the phone when he called after the date with Sophie and he said the date went great. Of course it went great for him. Um, I'm like, that's John Magaro. Don't lie to me. It's not Mark. It's John Magaro is like in every single movie lately. I don't know. Anyway, so when she checks her notes about Mark, you can see she knew the vibe was off. She put in her notes boring, not interesting. Somehow, I don't know, she didn't it seemed like Lucy herself didn't really have that good of an interaction with him. Um, he didn't seem like a threat to her by no means. But she knew the vibe was off, and yet she didn't listen to her gut, and she didn't listen to the intuition about it.
I have a question. Like we said, this assault and this later dialogue that she has with Sophie is sort of the trigger for her reviewing her own views about love and marriage and whatnot. But do you think that makes sense? Like the reason as to why she sort of reframes her view, or like you were showing before, like the scale between the materialistic points and the sort of, let's say, feelings arguments.
Hmm.
So does that make sense? That this triggers her revaluing her views.
I don't think it's the only thing that happens, though. I think if you watch if you watch the scene of one of the dates that she has with Harry, and right before they get together, she talks to him and she tells him, you don't want me. You can get so much better than me based on the stats. because I don't make that much money. I am older. You can get someone younger. And while you're watching this, at least while we were watching it, Daria was like, why does she devalue herself so much? So I think she doesn't even know her own worth at
Mhm.
this point. She doesn't think that she is valuable. She doesn't consider herself valuable. And I mean, while Harry provides for her, she knows he has no feelings towards her. He's not attached to her, so it doesn't add to her value as a person. While with John, being loved, that kind of increases your value. And I guess just this whole relationship that she goes through with Harry and with John, is also adding to this change in mindset. Plus, this situation with Sophie and the assault that happens, and she has to basically question herself as a professional as well. So it's like a whole, I don't know, it's not only about her value as a person, but also as a professional, plus, just generally the worldview. I think it is enough to challenge the way that she was thinking about it
Okay,
before
that's a
that
good point.
point.
Yeah, it's not only this, but this is part of it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't remember. You were saying that Pedro's character doesn't um allow Lucy to see herself as valuable. I think that don't they mention that? I think it's maybe the last conversation she has with John, that she's able to grow with John or something along those lines. Does that don't they mention something like this maybe at the end of the movie? Because that would tie into what you were just saying.
I don't remember that.
But that's at least how I view it. Like with Harry, she would get stuck in maybe in a level, right? And because John
Hmm.
really cherishes her and sees what
Hmm.
uh
Okay.
yeah, why she's great, that's an opportunity for her to grow and develop.
Hmm.
Maybe this
Well,
growth aspect, they mention it with between Harry and Dakota when they were talking about why they should get together.
hmm well, I mean, also, if you think about it, it's by the end, no matter what we think about the ending, whether it's good or bad or realistic or not, it's like she has to take care of herself. She doesn't have to rely on a man to do it for her. She doesn't have a man who is a millionaire, a billionaire, so she can now relax and do nothing. She should provide for herself, which she also can. She gets a job offer that is very, very interesting. Whether she takes it or not, up to her. We don't get the answer to this question, but it's like she can do it for herself. And John is there and she makes him grow and want to grow as well, right? Because he wants to be with her and he knows that it's important for her. It's one of her values to have a good financial position and standing. So he kind of has to put an effort into this as well.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, eventually it's a compromise, but yeah, I mean, I think they do make each other grow.
Hmm.
And I guess that's true. With Harry, it wouldn't have been like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, and I was also thinking about this from a sort of more practical point of view that I mean, usually in a couple you have different abilities and things where you complement each other. And here Dakota is, I guess, more business oriented or more finance oriented, and because she is more interested in those things and maybe better at them than John, then okay, yeah, that's how she contributes to their relationship and how she's valuable and yeah, she takes over that part of their relationship, and John has his other strengths. So I thought was very practical in a way that usually it's some like the labor division, if you will, also very practical, but yeah, it's what happens usually in relationships. Be shocked
That's
you with
it.
my answer.
We reached the end. No, I just like I got too immersed in my thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, what else did I want to say? I think there were a couple more interesting bits. Yeah, I think you mentioned this scene at the bar where this is after the assault on Sophie had happened, and then John can sense that something's happening with Dakota. But yeah, the answer is sort of funny and also really realistic that sometimes you can sense what the other there's something wrong, but then the answer that John gives is completely not appropriate or hits the wrong nerves because he says, I don't remember his words exactly, but the way he phrases it is like totally what Lucy didn't want to hear at this moment. I don't remember his words, but
I don't remember what he says, but I remember what she says. She says, you always knew what to say to me. And she gets really mad.
yeah, exactly, yes,
That's true. I thought that was great.
yeah, that was great.
Because
Another,
although I think it just shows how, although they do share this deep emotional connection,
yeah,
it doesn't mean it's perfect. It doesn't mean they always get each other, and
yeah,
they still have their kind of moments where it doesn't. There's a mismatch of what the person needs. I think it's perfect and very realistic about any relationship.
yeah, that was great. I also thought maybe where this movie was funny when the breakup scene between Harry and Lucy happens, and then we find out that Harry had this operation to get taller, and then at the end she asks him how tall or how short
Mhm.
were you, and then sort of you can see
Yeah.
Pedro lowering down, and at the end we get this shot, far away shot where we can see how he's standing. I thought that was pretty funny, and Pedro's funny, and that scene was
Mhm.
funny. And then the end, is that the end scene? Oh no, wait, I have two more moments that I really enjoyed. The one is when Lucy and John drive away for the weekend because Lucy didn't go on the Iceland trip with Harry, and then they arrive at a wedding, and then they dress up for the wedding to take something to eat from the wedding. But I love the detail that
They
Dakota
just
has
gate
like a
crashed the
summary.
wedding.
Yeah, but I love that Dakota has like a sort of summery dress, but she has
Mhm.
her sneakers on. I
Sneakers
thought that
on.
was a great that was a great detail. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think the last detail that I loved was at the end when they had gotten back to help Sophie because Mark was there at her apartment and was ringing her door, and then they go back to make sure that she's safe. And John sleeps on the door, and then afterwards Lucy comes out and they talk about their relationship. And I love the answer to the question, or that was what I would have expected, that Lucy asked him, why do you love me?"
Oh
And
yeah.
I just do, and
Yeah,
that's I
he
thought
says
was
it's
great.
the easiest thing, and I thought that's just so nice.
Yeah, but
You
yeah, that's
melted my romantic heart.
but it makes total sense as well in the context of their characters and Chris Evans' character. So I thought that was great. Yeah.
Mhm. What I also love is such a nice little touch, I must say, when the reason why she arrives at John's apartment and she's like, "Can I stay at your place?" is because she sublet her own apartment for the time that she was supposed to be in Iceland. And I
Yeah.
thought this just is such a great touch because you can see she's making money. She's like
Hmm.
not letting any opportunity pass to make some money. And I thought that, yeah, that's just a very cool touch to her character.
It's great. Huh?
Also, have you noticed that? I mean, I only noticed it in one scene, but maybe it's not only just this one scene, is that I think they switched to handheld camera while they were shooting scenes with John at his apartment. At
Oh,
least
I
it
didn't
was
notice.
it was a bit more shaky. It was like
Yeah.
the this whole, the scene, how it was made, it was just like not as stable as the rest of the film. I
Mhm.
thought it was also kind of a good a
No, but
good way
now,
to show
yeah,
his character and his situation.
now that you mention it, it makes sense. But it reminds me what I haven't addressed yet is we talked about the beginning, the diff about New York.
Hmm.
So I think it's Celine or her cinematographer as well. They do a great job of showing different parts of New York.
Mm.
And I was talking about with a colleague recently, like usually in movies, we get to see New York through a very romanticized
Hmm.
lens. Not in all movies, but some
Yeah.
movies. But here they do a good job of showing, I guess, more towards the beginning, like the sort of higher end buildings and apartments and sort of
Hmm.
where Harry lives and the restaurants they visit. But on the
Hmm.
other hand, we get to see sort of Chris's part of town where he
Hmm.
like the very small flat he shares with his roommate, and then sort of the garage where his play takes place. So those are more
Hmm.
about a
That's
bit more
actually true.
they're like scrubby and dirty and
Hmm.
whatnot. So I
Yeah,
think
then
they do a
maybe
good
you
job.
are right that it is more of a character in this movie than it is in
Yeah.
past lives. I mean, in past lives, you get different places. You also, I mean, they don't show Toronto so much, but still, they kind of also are in Canada than they are in New York and upstate New York, I think, while they are at this writing workshop where she meets her future husband. But in itself, maybe New York is not that much or doesn't play that much of a role. She does go to different places while she is showing him around, the child friend around, right? But yeah, I mean, here it definitely is more of a setting, a more deliberate setting. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's subtle, maybe. If you don't pay attention, you don't
Yeah.
notice. It's like
No,
Chris
but you do
Evans.
you do notice this garage thing, the play
Yeah.
thing is like
Yeah.
is definitely something you do notice, and you know that okay, this is a very underground
Hmm.
scene.
And
But
maybe
yeah.
also Dakota's apartment is sort of in the middle. It's nice and stuff, but it's not, I don't know, it's not a tall building. It's sort of an older building, which is,
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know, renovated or whatnot. Pretty much so.
Yeah, so do we want to get to the ending and discuss the implications and
Sure,
the
yeah.
modern romance?
Let's get to it.
So yeah, I mean, I would say the ending is just a bit of antithesis to Cha-Cha Real Smooth for me because I really kind of was like, yeah, but like for real though? I don't know. It was just a bit too cheesy the way that it
Hmm.
turns out in the end.
Yeah.
I would expect something a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just this just sounds so elitist to say it in a way. It's like, entertain me, please. But I don't know. It's just a bit too, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's a bit too like we were saying. It switches too much to the other side of the spectrum, or maybe it's
Yeah.
a bit too easy. Yeah, and it's I guess that's what the word I was looking for. I wasn't entertained, maybe because also mostly at the beginning of the movie, it's quite I engaged with it on a cerebral level, right? Like more
Hmm.
from Dakota's point of view that,
Yeah.
and then what it's missing is this sort of
Hmm.
feelings, and I think like by the end that doesn't switch. You still look at the relationships from a sort of detached or cerebral
Hmm.
or practical way,
Hmm.
and yeah, maybe it's also a bit too simple at the end for me.
Yeah, that's why I think that it is definitely between the two. If you compare Past Lives and the Materialist is definitely easier to digest and comprehend, exactly for the reason that it is that dry and cerebral, as you say. It's is just easy. It's not like easy as a 90s rom-com, but it's still easy to understand to a regular viewer, and you don't think to, or you don't need to like think so deep into it to get it.
Yeah, I guess it's the plot mostly. Like that's why they chose this. Or like the plot, I said, for me, it's a bit predictable, and I guess maybe that's the point that it's easy to
Yeah.
follow.
It
But I
is
was,
predictable in kind of a, yeah, in a way that you, I guess if you just listen, if you just look at the poster for this movie
Mhm.
and you see the three characters, you pretty much, if you know that it is a romantic comedy drama, whatever, but it is a romantic is involved in it, you kind of can deduce how it's going to end. And the sad thing about it is it does end exactly the way that you
Yeah,
expect it
that's what I
to.
meant. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
And so it's kind of sad to me that this is a Celine Song film that kind of goes with this. And
Hmm.
I would expect to have something else, but unfortunately that didn't
Yeah.
happen.
But I guess what we've been talking about here for over an hour now, that's, I guess, the interesting part, or there's a lot more to talk about than I actually would have thought. So, yes, it ends predictably, but maybe or myself, I was underestimating this movie a bit. I was also thinking that it's a nice sort of counterpart to past lives in the sense that in past lives, or for me at least, I engaged a lot more on an emotional level, and you get those gut punches, especially at the end of the movie. We have another scene where it ends like on a door. The movie
Mm,
almost closes on a door,
mhm,
similar to here, but different. And yeah, so it's a nice sort of flip side to past lives where you want something to happen to the characters in past lives, or you want them maybe to get back together, but it doesn't happen.
mhm,
And
mhm.
here it's sort of more, yeah,
I swear, the
rational.
ending of Past Lives is like one of the most perfect endings to a movie I've ever seen in my life. I will
Hmm,
always cherish this ending in my heart.
that's great. Yeah. I think I mentioned this when we did our podcast on romantic movies that I think of past lives a lot on how I felt. I compare it to La La Land because La La Land also has that
Mm,
sort of gut punch and that, oh, what could have happened, and start wondering a lot of things and feeling a lot of things, and yeah, that's how I felt with those movies, but very different here for Materialists.
mhm. But yeah, I mean, I guess the film is still very much relatable in the world that we live in now. For me personally, I've been in a relationship for so long that I have never even been on a dating app. I have never used it.
Yeah.
I just used it for my friends because like
Mhm.
I think the process of swiping people is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But like I personally cannot
You're
relate to this.
you're evil, like
I'm so
just
old and
swiping.
I'm so evil. But you know what? The thing is, we have, okay, not to name any names, but I know a story of our personal friends who they are together now, and they met on a dating app, and the way that they met is the friend's grandma swiped the person, and the person who had the app was like, oh well, I wouldn't personally choose it, but okay. I wouldn't
That's
choose this person, but then see, it worked out in the end. I
yeah.
think the story is very romantic.
It relates a lot to this movie. Like you can't control like how love
I
happens,
know,
right?
right? It
Yeah.
kind of does, yeah.
Yeah.
But so,
But
yeah, I
yeah,
think it definitely, probably for other people, definitely something to think about. And if you are um, trying to find a partner online and through the apps, I guess it does kind of come down to this. This is the
Yep.
first thing that you look for. But I mean, also, I guess if you are dating in general, if it's not just online, you still have your set of values that you kind of try to find in a person.
Hmm.
Um, and this is kind of the first um, step, I guess, right? When you are looking for someone, is whether you match with them on some level of values or like the general kind of, I don't know, there are just so many things that you have an opinion on, especially the older you get, the more opinionated you are and the less you are ready to compromise, at least on your values. I'm not talking about even compromise on some, I don't know, physical preferences you have for people, but yeah, I don't know, it's just still the vibe, the feeling, something, some
Yeah.
spark still has to be there, right?
Yeah. So maybe also this is why this movie, I mean, millennials or people over 30 can relate a bit more. At least that's how I felt. Like I mentioned, like I'm still on some of these apps, and or I have been on these apps, and it's similar to what you described. Like it's a bit, yeah, sometimes it's a bit materialistic, for lack of a better word, and
Hmm.
you don't really connect to people sometimes, and that's frustrating. And I guess the point of this movie as well, what I've been realizing using those apps, that yeah, what like how you connect to people is like
Hmm.
sometimes completely random, or you
Hmm.
can't control it, or at least that's what I and other people hope for. Like some grandma swiping right on a person, and then it ends up working out.
Yeah. But also like the way that how frustrating it can get when you cannot find
Yeah,
someone. It just
yeah.
like the clients with Lucy's clients, right? It's like you are trying, you may be trying very hard, you may be trying for a while, and it still doesn't work out. And it definitely makes you question your value as a person and makes you, well, question everything really.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that can be also very frustrating. And
Yep.
I guess that is definitely also something that people can relate to in this film.
Exactly. That first montage is, I think, key to dragging
Hmm.
the audiences in and connecting, because yeah, you can really connect to those things.
Hmm.
Okay. Any last thoughts, closing thoughts on the movie?
I mean, I would say definitely check out the movie. It's I mean, it's enjoyable, makes you think. You can definitely get something, some food for thought from it. Um, I think it was quite enjoyable to watch.
Hmm.
Not the movie of the year, but
Yep.
yeah.
I think I'll probably rewatch it sometime in the future and approach it with a different mindset, maybe even
Hmm.
after rewatching past lives or something. That
Hmm.
could be great, like comparing those two a bit more. And
Hmm.
yeah, I guess what draws people in, I mean, the cast, those three faces. I mean, who wouldn't want to see a movie with those three? I mean, that's what drags you in. I was also considering watching it here in the open air cinema um, in Zurich, but the tickets were sold out very quickly, so I didn't get a chance to do that. But I
I think
hope, yeah, that
it's not it's a premiere probably, right? You said that
yes,
it's
I
coming
think
out
so.
a little
Yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I hope the movie keeps doing well. I mean, already it made three times the money, and people see it and talk about it because there's lots to talk about. So hopefully we get more intel next time from Dario on what he found out on his
Yeah.
matchmaking hunt. But yeah, thanks for listening, and catch you next time.
Bye.